One. Hi everyone and welcome to another edition of the League of Disruptors show. My name is Ketan Makwana, I'm from Enterprise Lab, and so this is round 2 today of what seems to be an inspiring, enthralling instalment this week of different experts that I'm going to be having on. And this evening has cut no bouts or anything together. We have the ever impressive and emerging Luke Scott in the house. Luke, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm awesome, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Very good, thanks. How's just like we've just had inspiring Vanessa and Veronica on, and they're at the Superpower Live event. I believe you are also there as well. This is one of your signature events that you work on. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a great event. So we run that. We have a company called H Academy. So I run that with my business partner Eric Ho. Yeah, really great event.
Fantastic.
It's very different. You know, it's called League of Disruptors. We're all about being different. So it's a business event, but we teach people a whole other side to life too. So you come out of it, you learn business, but you also learn happiness, you know?
Oh, love that.
You learn about balance.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I think it will be fair to start with actually who Luke Scott is. So tell us more about you, your story, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I did the whole thing that you're supposed to do. You know, you're taught that you're supposed to go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a good job, and do you know the one that I mean?
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
I did that. So I worked as a sales trainer for one of the biggest companies in the world, and a business consultant. So I was working on £1 million projects, multi-million-pound projects. So I had the nice house, the nice car, the significant job, the beautiful girlfriend, the cats, everything you're supposed to want, and I've never been more miserable.
Right.
Because I wasn't doing something I loved, and I was doing it because of the people that told me I was supposed to do it. And I just had this big breakdown one day where I was like, what next? More money, another house. It's not bringing you happiness, right? So that's when I found personal development and started meeting all these crazy people who were talking about like doing what you love and being passionate and all this stuff, which I'd kind of heard of before, but never really met anyone who was doing it. And so yeah, I started on this crazy journey of just traveling the world, helping people to change their lives, and I call it waking people up. You know, from that day I woke up, my whole life just flipped around, and now that's what I do.
Amazing, interesting. And just coming into this, you said obviously you had the job and you know you had the life and everything was set, but obviously there was some sort of disconnect. There was just something that you weren't happy about at that moment. You didn't feel like you're in that purpose. But I just in that initial part of the introduction, you talk about this whole thing of you doing the things that other people were telling you to do. When did you get to that kind of point where you just said, look, I know I've been doing everything that people's telling me to do, but I'm just not happy? Because some people actually perhaps feel like that's the only way life is, or you know, at the end of the day, this is what's written for me, this is my destiny, and these are the things that my purpose is. But you know, you're one of many people that I've had on the show where they've had either some form of controversy or some point in their life juncture that's come in and said, I can't do this anymore, I've had enough, and I've got to make that change. When did that change kind of come for you? Not as in when did you change, when did you realize this is it, I just can't do this anymore the way I'm doing it?
Yeah, I find with most people I work with, they have to hit rock bottom before they make change, because change is uncomfortable. You know, any kind of change, there's always going to be some pain there, but you have to want the change enough to go through it, right? Whether it's transforming your business, whether it's transforming your life, there's always a period where it's going to be tough. And for me, I got to a point. I went to a speaking event because I got to a point in my career where I was ready to go in front of news cameras. That was like the next promotion. So I thought I need to become a great speaker. And I went to this event with a guy called John Lee. He's a really great speaker.
Yep.
And he told me this one thing that just flipped my world upside down. He said that everybody has a message, and it's our duty to share it. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but then I got home and I was thinking, And I just realized my whole life I was like sharing other people's messages. I never really expressed what I wanted or what I could help people with. It was always what other people did.
Okay.
And so I just realized that I can help people. I really help people, because I was doing that already for free. I was with the businesses, I was doing all this kind of stuff in the background, but I'd never really made it a business before.
Okay, so you kind of talk there and mention the fact that almost you're a vessel for other people's messages, and through this kind of conversation, through meeting and hearing John Lee speak and the message that he's kind of broadcasted, that we all have a message to give or a story to tell as a part of our way in life. It's one of the things that we were discussing a little bit earlier on the show with Vanessa and Veronica, about the fact that it's something that comes from your heart without that kind of natural expectation, and that you're kind of unconscious to the people that you connect with those kind of messages. You've come away from this event, you've been thinking about this, and you kind of said, look, I've been doing this for other people for a number of years now, or been helping other people's businesses and stuff like this. You've got this trigger and you've got this desire. I wouldn't say it's kind of an inspirational, motivational piece at this moment in time, which says, I've got to get that inner message out from me. I've got to get my message, which is authentic to me, out to the rest of the world. It's a big thing. You're talking about life changing, and I know that these things come. Your change comes, and the fear of change and the difficulties of change comes when you need to pivot. So as you're pivoting through, what was going through your mind? I mean, how did you sort of come up to this whole base that you said, right, that's it. I'm going to set up onto my own stall, and I'm going to start giving my message. What was going through your mind when you were looking at setting all those things up?
It was the first time I've ever been so excited, and couldn't even sleep, I strongly believe that if you follow your passion, you're always going to do well. The passion for me is your intuition. It leads you to amazing places. That's where your soul connects with. That's how your soul talks to you, through passion. And so I'd never been more passionate, and I was so excited. And I got home to my girlfriend, who had been with for 5 years at the time, and I told her, I said, I'm going to travel the world, I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to help transform people's lives. And I was just, she didn't care.
Really?
She actually said, okay, so what do you want to watch on TV tonight? And
what did that do to you?
Well, I just knew it wasn't right. She wasn't right. That was it. I'd never been more fired up, and then she just didn't even care. So at the time, I was working for that big company. So I quit my job, I broke up with my girlfriend, and I moved to London.
All in threes. Quit the job, quit the girl, and moved to London. So they do take normally the whole 3 buses thing, or bad things or good things come in threes. You did this thing in one smooth move. You just
all or nothing, and I didn't know anyone in London, but I knew I could come here, set up my speaking business, and surround myself with people that actually cared, because the environment's just so important. Most people in my life anyway, growing up, were very negative. I'm sure most people can relate to that. I said I'm going to be, from a young age, I'm going to be successful, and I want to do all these amazing things, and no one cared. And so, that was rock bottom for me. As not happy in any area of my life, so I just stopped.
And it's kind of down to you, isn't it? It got to that stage where you start to think, for a little while there's this whole thing of poor me to a certain extent, with the job's not right, or the relationship's not right, or there's always someone else or something else to kind of blame for this environment. But I'm not saying that you're putting blame into this point, but I reckon when you say the way I'm kind of taking in that when you hit rock bottom, it got to that realization that you're the only one that's going to be able to change this, and your actions and the way you're going to take this on above yourself is going to take you to where you want to be. So they're brave and bold decisions. Number one, to leave your job, because most, for someone like me, I was pushed into what I do today because I lost my job. So it wasn't that I chose to lose. Your relationship, now we'll talk about that in a little while, because I have this whole thing of sometimes there's a very fine line between someone not understanding and someone not caring, and but because of our emotions, the way we're charged, it could be perceived that, you know, they don't care, but really they just don't understand what you're going through at that moment in time. But, you know, those kind of brave, bold decisions kind of define who you are and where you go to today. So, you know, let's fast forward a little bit into your life now, and the fact that you've come over to London. You're now in pursuit of people that understand you. So what did you do? Did you still get out to networking events? Did you gravitate around John Lee and all the people that had inspired you at that moment in time? What did you do when you got here?
Yeah, so when I moved to London, first thing I did was start attending events, because the people you meet there, you have something in common straight away. You know, everyone who attends those kind of events, they want to make an impact, they want to change their life, and they tend to be more heart-centered people. Yeah. You know, I didn't even know that being heart-centered was important. I didn't even know what it was. And now I'm like the fluffiest, most woo-woo guy ever, you know, most about love and you know, all about just connecting with people, and it's beautiful. And that's what happened when I started hanging around with people who were like that. Because, you know, the truth is, in my career, I'd worked with hundreds of businesses, transforming them, and most of the CEOs I met, most of the directors I met, they were miserable. And I kind of had this idea in my head that owners of businesses are miserable. You know, they work 60, 70 hours a week in their business, and they get home and they take it out on their partner, and, you know, and they get to 60, 70 years old, and then they just look back at all the stress they've had. That was my view of entrepreneurs. But then
that's even if they get to 60 or 70 because of all that stress, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I just started meeting these people who were entrepreneurs, had their own businesses, were traveling the world speaking, and they were actually happy. And I was like, oh, okay, how do I do that? So yeah, you know, going to events, meeting those kind of people was amazing, and then finding great mentors too. That was a big change for me.
Yeah, and let's sort of delve a little bit deeper into this. You know, I think there is this whole not disregard, but sort of misunderstanding about what a mentor or coach can do to help you along your line. You just mentioned the fact that you went out and found these people. Now, there's one thing that, you know, having like-minded people, or the people that have that kind of that feeling and understanding that you have, but how pivotal has it been in your career from you know, when you came to London to today, that, you know, you had a mentor or a coach that was working alongside you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just totally different. At my events, I do this piece. You know, it's a bit of a no-brainer question, but I say, would you rather have fast results or slow results? You know, fast results, right? So if you want slow results, you go and you learn the mistakes yourself, you trial and error it, you do all that kind of stuff. If you want fast results, find someone who's done what you want to do and just model them. Learn from their mistakes. You know, a great mentor of mine is Wayne Dyer. And he, for 30, 40 years, was learning all this amazing spiritual stuff, traveling the world, helping people wake up. Yeah. But in 3 months, you can read his books, listen to his audio CDs, and learn what it took him 30 years to learn. When you can learn from people who've done what you want to do, it just speeds things up. And it's the same with business. You know, my mentors, or one of my mentors, I've got 4 or 5 now, is a guy called Eric Coe, amazing speaker. Yeah. And as soon as I asked Eric to be my mentor, things just accelerated. You know, I did things in 6 months that speakers have been trying to do, that have been speaking for 6 years more, you know. Some of the people I mentor have been speaking for a lot longer than that. Yeah. And they still haven't had the success because they didn't have the right mentor. So now that's what I do for people, is I teach them everything I've learned and package that up for them too.
Interesting, because one of the things that I have a feeling with, especially with the clients that I serve, you know, within my sort of roster and stuff, is that often enough they build themselves a very, very high expectation, and their delivery is very, very sort of mediocre in terms of that. And, you know, I talk about a gap between expectation and delivery is what your failure rate is, in terms of that's your capacity to learn whether you're expect. So, you know, from this expectation, when you came on board, you know, you found your mentors and stuff, did they have to work with you first on your expectation, or was it the fact that they embraced your expectation and drove you forward? You know, how did it work for you?
Yeah, a mixture of the two. So some of my mentors I sought out because I knew of their results already. So I knew people who'd already worked with them, so I sought them out, and that way my expectation was already kind of set. With others, to be honest, there has been disappointments because. Sorry, Karen.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Yeah, with others there have been disappointments because it's very easy to sell something to someone, but then to actually follow through and deliver on it, it's a totally different story.
And what is your belief in the fact that sometimes mentors can have a very short stay and within your sort of life cycle, and others can actually be there for a lot longer? So you could have a mentor perhaps for 3 days, and in some cases you could have them for a lifetime. Do you believe that it's a swings and roundabouts kind of relationship thing? Some people come in and make an instant impact and disappear, and others actually are on a longer game with you because they're kind of sharing. I mean, I take the assumptions that Eric is someone who's obviously here to stay because you've got a lot going with Eric, and Eric's been part of your sort of ongoing life since you came to London moving forward, whereas there could be other people that come in and do a little bit of spontaneity. And the reason I ask this question is there are quite a lot of people that are coming into this kind of industry of personal development or helping people, but they have this kind of thought process or expectation in their head that they've got to be there all the way through, thick and thin, for everything. So do you have a mixture of different types of mentors within your relationships where some are just spontaneous or have very short stints with you, and others that are actually there on a continual long basis?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think people come into our lives for a reason, right? There's a saying, they come in for a reason or a season or something like that.
A reason or a season. I like that.
Now, if all a mentor needs to do is have one conversation with me and that I get what I need from them, then amazing. Yeah. But with other people, we do create business partnerships, we create alliances. If the energy's right, then you do things together. And again, I don't have attachments to anything. I don't think we're going to do things forever. But you just feel how it is at the time, and when you're being present, if it feels right, keep doing it. But it's the same in relationships too. You can never 100% say you're going to be with someone forever because you just don't know what's going to happen. But some people, all you literally need in your life, they walk in, they say one thing to you that sets you off. Yeah. And that's exactly what they were supposed to do. But other people you end up becoming best friends with or in relationships with or whatever. Yeah. I think mentors are the same, especially now with, being able to just access people online. It's so easy. And sometimes you just watch a 1 hour video, like maybe someone watches this, I inspire them, great, maybe that's exactly what I was supposed to do. Yeah. But maybe other people who watch it, they end up working with me for 3 months, 3 years, who knows? I believe the universe will bring the right people to me. I believe we attract the people that we need in our lives. And yeah, I don't hold expectations on how long things will last. I just enjoy them while they're here.
Brilliant. And we're gonna. I love that attitude and the fluidity that you have within the ethos of what you're doing. It's not about your business. It's about where you believe you fit with your clients, even now as well. So the way you say whether they're working with you for 3 months or 3 years, it's the flow. As long as you're adding value to one another and you're being able to sort of progress forward, that's the key thing. From here, I just want to get through into just to say a quick hello to quite a few of the people. You've got quite an audience here today. Guys, if you're watching this, if you've got any questions for Luke, please get them onto the timeline, and I'll pick up the questions and get them over to Luke. Luke's going to be with us for about another 40 minutes or so. So just a quick hello to Beju's on, Bav Chavda, Levi, Bakepon, Heather Wynn, Jane Wynn, Shamalia, Mahmood's on, Steve Trister's on, he's coming on later on this week. Tosin, hi from Barbara, Ambika, Veronica's on now, she's watching you, I think, after you've been watching her, so that's great. Teresa Lopez is on as well, we've got Jose Farina, we've got a number of different people from different places here.
Awesome.
So, Luke, so you felt kind of out of place with what you were doing back in your career. You felt like you weren't living your full purpose. You weren't really getting your message across. You were more of a vessel for other people's messages. You took this decision, through a point of inspiration and identification when you went to an event and you heard John Lee speak, and it resonated to you that we all have a message to give. This has spurred you on, and you've made some life-changing decisions here. In fact, 3 very big ones in terms of leaving the area, the environment that you've lived in and been in all the time, and come down to London. You've decided to give up the job purely on the pursuit of where you believe you could go to, and as a natural part of the result, you also felt that the relationship that you had wasn't right for you, so you made that change again. You've now moved on to this whole process that you're in London now. So there's one thing that I know of you is that you want to disrupt the speaking industry. So yes. I want you to tell me more about this. Why, and what frustrates you about it the most?
Okay, great, let's go. So I've got a lot of friends who are speakers, a lot. And the problem I see really is there's lots of courses you can go on where you can learn how to speak.
Yeah.
You know, people can teach you how to give a good presentation, they can teach you confidence, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you how to actually make an impact and how to make it into a business.
Okay.
And so a lot of my friends who are speakers, they've been speaking for years. And they're speaking 2-3 times a week, every weekend, out there adding value, changing lives. Mm-hmm. And then in the week, they're doing a job that they hate. Or maybe even a job that they're just not happy with. And then on the weekend, they're preaching about living your dreams and doing whatever you love, right? And don't get me wrong, I have massive respect for those people. Mm. A lot of entrepreneurs, when you're building a business, you have to do it while you've got a job. You have to. They can't afford to do it any other way. Yeah. So massive respect to them working 70, 80-hour weeks. Mm-hmm. But they don't need to. Because you can literally... My background was business. I've had businesses my whole life. Sales for the last 10 years. Yeah. So straight away when I started speaking, it became a business. And I know I can teach people very quickly, in literally an hour, how to make their speaking business into an actual business so they don't have to do the job as well. And so that's one thing that I think is just broken. And I've been to loads of courses where they teach you all the stuff, but they don't teach you that part. Unless you pay their £10,000 mentorship or £50,000 mentorship or something, then they teach you it. Right? But I don't believe in that, because most people who are working that 40-50 hour a week in a job that they're not happy in don't have that kind of money. So I think that's the first thing that's broken. So that's the first thing I do differently. You know, right at the start of my program, that's what I teach you straight away. Even if you're not an established speaker, I teach you how you can make money straight away and help people while you're doing it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, a lot of speakers out there are not authentic. You can tell, you can see them on stage, their energy's off, it doesn't really feel right. They're pushing something, they say they're doing it to help people, but really they're doing it because they get a lot of money for it. And I know from personal experience that for every 100 people they sign up, maybe 5 actually get results. You know, very low percentages. But they're quite happy because those 5 people they make into a big testimonial, and then suddenly everyone thinks they're doing amazing. do you know what I mean? You must, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's very much that kind of cap of the iceberg type of thing. So it's kind of the facade that gets built around that. Just going back very, very quickly about point number 1 that you brought, and I'll get you to keep talking more about the areas there. This whole counterbalance, and we do understand that most people need to start up, they need to have a continuing employment to bring that kind of revenue in for the income so they can sustain while they do this part of the business. But don't you feel that those very people who are doing a Monday to Friday 9 to 5, when they preach on the weekend, the energy's off, it's not really connected? Could they be very, very deliberate with what they're saying? Or do you think it's, for these people, is a case of they're using the heart and the passion that they have, the very thing that they want to do? I mean, because there's got to be this, I have a lot of clients that want to make that jump. They want to quit their jobs just so they can run their businesses. And I'm actually a believer of, this will never happen. You get complacent to a situation because they keep saying, until my business can afford me, then I can't leave my job. And I said, well, the more you're in your job, you can't create the income that you want to generate the other way around. But you're also, one thing that you're talking about here is creating a direct impact from almost day one, and the fact of what do you need to do to turn that opportunity that you have of being a speaker into a business which is going to be generating you income, right?
Well, here's the thing. Most speakers, most speakers that aren't making it into a speaking business, they're actually doing a disservice to their audience. I'll explain that.
Yeah.
I like controversial statements, okay?
Yes. That's why I got you on the show.
They're not serving people as well as they can, because here's the thing. If I stand on stage for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, there's only so much I can give you. There's only so many breakthroughs I can give you. There's only so much the human brain can take. Now, there'll be loads of people in the audience. There's always a percentage who won't take it to that next level. So you have to have some kind of offer for them. You have to have something that can deepen it with them, because you can't really change that many lives in 60 to 90 minutes and have lasting change. They might feel pumped up for a couple of days, but then they're going to go away and the negativity is going to get them. They need a program. They need something.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start offering that, you then become a professional speaker. You then make it into a speaking business now, and then you're helping more people. That's it. Because if you're standing on stage totally authentically and you're just giving them something that you've been through, right? Something you've done.
Yeah.
You're going to help those people who are still going through that.
Yeah.
There's a whole percentage of people who are going through that challenge now. You've been through it. You can save them time, just like we talked about before.
Yes.
But by not actually offering them something, you are actually not serving them. But the mindset I see a lot is people say, oh, I don't want to bother them with sales. I don't want to be pushy. But it's totally wrong. Those people who buy, if you are doing it genuinely, you're going to change their lives. You should have no issue with selling them your product if you believe in it.
Because it's almost the responsibility part now, isn't it? The ethical part of this. Because like you just said, that you could be on stage, you could be there for 60 minutes, you've inspired a whole group of people, but it's almost like as if you've blown hot air into a balloon, and that air is slowly seeping itself out. So obviously the motivation starts to. So, part and parcel of this, as a speaker, especially a motivational speaker or someone that's going to be designed like this, you should have a follow-through program which allows people to continue that journey through where they're going. Because one of the things that I pick up a lot on is at events is you get the what and the why, you just don't get the how. And like you said earlier, there are some people's systems where they share with you the what and the why, but then you've got to pay extortionate amounts of money to get the how going through. But this is where your business differs, right? You're more straight into a punch of how you do this as opposed to the what and why, because I suppose your client has pretty much got the what and why in their head already. Is that right?
Yeah, well, kind of, but there's different ways to do it, and you can, as a speaker, there's two ways to make money. Okay, number one is to be what's called a fee-paid speaker. Okay. Where you do keynote speeches, maybe you get paid per hour. Starting out, you're going to make maybe 100, 500 pounds an hour. Richard Branson makes like 400 grand an hour. Not bad. And you can be anywhere in between. But the second way to do it is by being an enrolling speaker. That's where you offer your product or services. Okay.
Okay.
But here's the thing. When I first started in the speaking industry, I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, don't give them everything. Hold some stuff back so they buy your next level of program." That's what I don't believe in. Because look, if you come and see me, if you want to buy my video course, you'll get everything. Okay?
Yeah.
But then you have to go and do the work. Whereas if you buy my next level of program, my coaching, my mentoring, I'll do it with you, I'll help you. Then obviously if you want my premium mentorship, then that's obviously going to cost the most, and then we'll do it together. So instead of holding stuff back and keeping that as your model, and when you pay more, then you give them more information, I flip it around. So I just change the model. So it's more about how much involvement do you want from me. I can give you everything. If you don't want involvement from me, that's a lower investment. If you want involvement from me, then obviously it's going to be higher. Yeah. So people who don't have the budget, who can't necessarily invest tens of thousands of pounds, they can still get everything. And they can go and make it successful, but it just means obviously it's going to take more work from them, which a lot of people are happy to do. So that's the way I flip it, because I see it's broken. It's really broken the way that, oh well, here's what you need to do, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Okay, so why did I just listen to you for 2 hours?
No, you make absolute sense here. I just want to get some comments in because they're starting to flood through. Via Vitotus is saying love you lots, Luke. So you got some much love going on. Chris Richards has joined in. Lavelda Smith has got a question. I know she's put a couple of things in here. She's now talking about the business. She agrees with you on the business skills are required to create a business rather than a hobby, which is obviously some of the stuff that you work with your clients on. Lavelda goes on to say, I think people are too scared to be authentic on stage. It's easier to put on a show. We'll discuss that in a second. Callum Kirkness is saying spot on, Luke. Lavelda said that's one model, Luke. There are successful people in the speaking industry. Is people serving the corporate market, and within the corporate speaker market, selling from stage normally is not accepted. But then you talked about the two different types of speakers.
Paid speaker, yeah, exactly.
That's correctly. So she goes on to talk about many people lack depth in their talks. So let's touch on these points here. We're always told, John Lee told you that everyone has a message, to give. We talk about often the power of storytelling to a certain extent in terms of engaging your audiences. You're going another level. You're up that level. It's not just about the inspiring story or the engaging story. It's the follow through with the practicality of what people can continue doing, even if it's a small fee based product or some sort of online course, or whether it's one-to-one working on a personal level basically. And then Lavelda's brought this whole issue in about the depth of talk. So when you're working with your clients, as much as it's actually helping them develop a business out of their speaking, do you also work on the content and the sort of the scope of what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, here's a simple thing. People will only buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Okay? So when you're on stage, if something's off, people won't go for it. And if they do, you'll get really high cancellation rates. So absolutely, what we work on is just how to be authentic, because people just so in tune now with energy. They really, really are. I teach a lot about energy, and you can tell straight away. Sometimes you must have had this, right? You just see someone, you've never even spoken to them, you like them. You're like, oh, yeah, they're cool, right? And other times you walk into a room and you're just like, no, don't like it, right? You just feel the energy.
Yeah.
Now, when you're on stage, it's the same. You have to be authentic. And what I do as well is I give other people permission to be vulnerable. So I be on stage, I'm vulnerable on stage. That gives other people permission to go there too. Because I do all sorts of stuff. I as well as the speaker training, I'm very much into my energy. So I do healing and stuff as well. It's really cool. And you have to be vulnerable with people. Because if I tell them that everything's amazing, being a speaker's great, you'll just make loads of money, it's really quick, all you have to do is take 3, go. They're not going to buy it. But when you tell people that starting a business is tough, and sometimes you're going to have months where you're going to get absolutely nothing, and you're going to be trying and selling to people and no one's going to be buying. And that's just the reality of it, right? That's how it is. And then you're like, what am I doing wrong? But it's not necessarily you all the time. And then some months are amazing. Some months you have more clients than you know what to do with.
Yeah.
And you think, great, now I've made it. And then the next month, not so much, right? And that's the reality. So when you share with people what it's actually like and become that source of truth rather than just putting on the show, more people will be attracted to you, I believe anyway, strongly.
Well, that's kind of an interesting point, because earlier we were talking about expectations and delivery, and I think this is one unique way of actually being able to align that expectation. When someone comes into you, it's not just a case of you're just a fireball of energy which actually then overextends itself and just says bye. You're not also that drab of misery that says, are you sure this is the right thing for you? It's more of a situation of the proverbial arm around the shoulder on the basis of saying, look, it's great that you want to get into this, but here are some expectations that you need to understand. Vulnerability, this, that. It's, you know, like you say, that, you know, people can go months and months and months of trying to do something and it doesn't show, the results aren't showing. That doesn't mean that they're not moving forward. It's just that, you know, or like you say, it's the environment or something else is just not right. But I think sometimes it is right. It's just that things take time. You know, you don't just pop up on the scene and all of a sudden become instantly famous. It takes a measure of time for people to understand who you are, what you do, what you offer, where you go from. So I mean, like, you've kind of started to emerge out over the last, I would say, honestly, for me, in my horizon, I've seen you over the last sort of 6 to 8 months. I've seen, you know, Luke Scott. The first thing is, who is Luke Scott? Then it's kind of like, what is Luke Scott doing? And then you see this kind of, I don't know, it's like a machine gun of kind of things going on, and then that's when you start to think, bloody hell, this guy's in it. Yeah. So is this how is this the kind of attitude and behavior that you instill into your clients? Is it kind of you've got to be consistent, you've got to be present, you've got to be continuous, that kind of thing? Because that's exactly how I see you, my friend. I see you just come out. It's not like you just come out of nowhere. You've premeditated this, you've built this, you've thought about it. And now you're kind of pushing the barriers with all this kind of consistency of events and programs that you're doing.
Yeah, and look, here's the honest truth that no one will tell you. It's a system. I have a system for my speaking. My posts are calculated. I know what to do. I purposefully showed up on your radar like that because I got a mentor who showed me how to do it. That's the truth. It's teachable. It's something everybody can do. But I'm not going to say it's because I'm super special or, you know, I've got anything particularly amazing that I've been doing. I just follow this system that I was given, you know, since April, which is probably when you first saw me, right? Yeah. I've invested over £20,000 learning how to do this system. From various different people, various different courses, various mentors, programs. I've been learning this stuff. And that's what I do now is I take everything that I spent £20,000 learning and I teach that to people for a fraction of the cost because I can. And the reason I'm doing it is because I found that at the moment, the amount of people I can reach is a lot, but it's limited. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating this network of speakers around me. So I train people on how to be speakers. They're part of my network. We do events together. They speak on my platform. It's just scalable then. We can have a much bigger impact. And basically all I do is I teach these people exactly what I did. So how in 6 months they can explode on the scene and be an international speaker, be on everyone's podcasts, have your own radio show, all the stuff that I've done. I just teach people what I've done. I think that's the big difference as well. Yeah,
and I just want to come back a little bit in a second on one of the points. I just want to get some comments out here. Lavelda's loving your points. She's great points, Luke. Many people like depth in their talks. Tunji Olujimi is saying, how does a preacher become a speaker if you know what I am? Nice. And Louis Barnett's on. Maya Shadik's on. Lavenda's still saying more, so true, it's absolutely takes time. I think you've got Lavelda's going to be on actually later on this week. So.
Lavelda, you seem awesome.
Lavelda's amazing. So if you know Simone Vincenzi and now you know Lavelda Smith, there's the Mr. and Mrs. Smith of the speaking industry coming up soon. So you guys must connect. Taolin Shana, I agree, Luke. Authenticity and vulnerability, peace and respect and all of this kind of stuff. There's a journey in developing your skills and talent and finding your groove. That's what Lavelda's talking about in terms of finding a groove. We're going to come to that bit in a second. It's something I want to talk about. To what extent do you need to tweak a system to your natural style skill set versus taking off 100? Let's touch on this point a minute because you talked about systems. I'm very much of a believer that actually systems are great for those who created those systems because it's their systems. But there are systems that you've invested into, but you must have tropicalized these to yourself so they work for you. Is that something that's very important? And do you how do you entrust that into your, or ingrain that, should I say, into your clients?
Absolutely, 100%. And again, this is another thing that's broken. Okay, so just because a system works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Doesn't. And that's where, I've got a lot of friends who do trading and stuff, and trading for some people works perfectly. It matches what they like to do and they make amazing results. other people try it and they fail miserably. It's just not their system.
Yeah.
So I think how I explain systems is like this. There's a point when you're doing any system where you're going to be a bit of a robot. There's a point in any system where you've just got to learn, I call it the form. You're learning the form.
Okay.
Like when you first learn how to drive, right? When you first learn how to drive, you have your hands at 10 and 2, you check the mirrors, you check your blind spot, right? You're doing all that stuff, right? And now after a year, 2 years, 10 years driving, you don't do any of that stuff, right?
No.
Now you see back, now you're cruising, you know. Most people don't even use the indicators. Who checks their blind spot, right? You know? But that's because now you've taken the system that you learned and you put your own creativity into it.
Right.
That's the missing step. People stick using the system, or what other people do is they try and put creativity in before they've learned the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't work either. You have to learn the form first, and then you can add your creative bits to it. So that's exactly what I teach. I'm not saying what I did is going to work 100% for you. But what I did, I'll teach you. The parts that work, great. The parts that don't, we'll tweak them. You put your own creativity into it.
I think it's very important because obviously with an audience that I tend to have on these kind of shows, I should be, could be, would be entrepreneurs. We've got a lot of people that are now in the realization that they need to be able to articulate, you know, from, you know, whether it's from stage or selling from stage right the way through to actually being able to present themselves and be able to tell their stories in a particular way. But quite a lot of entrepreneurs get this kind of momentum where they go, oh look, Luke Scott does it this way, so I'm going to follow his 10-point plan right down to the core and the T. And then again, this whole thing about expectation comes out. Because Luke is able to do this, you know, I should be able to get, you know, exactly the same, if not better. There's this, I don't know what gets into people's heads that it works this way. So, you know, how key is, apart from the form side, how key is patience and understanding of the process as well? Because, I mean, you must have clients that have come through that are like, yes, 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 I want to rush, and get on stage and quickly do this. What do you do with these people?
So I carry something in my wallet, which a friend gave me, which I'll share with you. Okay. So, if you can see this.
We can. I will not compare myself to others.
So that's in my wallet. My journey is not your journey. We're very different people, we're very different souls. You know, for me, I feel like I'm being fast tracked. You know, things happen very quickly, but that's because I'm that kind of person who's all in. You know, I quit my job, I broke up with a girlfriend, I moved to a totally different city. I did it, you know, straight in, right? Other people don't do that. And that's cool. That doesn't mean you're a better or worse speaker. It doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It just means your journey is maybe different. Now, what I can do is I can inspire people, but I'm never going to push you to do something that doesn't resonate with you. What I will do 100% is I will stretch you out of your comfort zone. Sometimes I will stretch you so far you think it's like, but that's all very calculated because it's exactly what my mentors did to me.
That's perfect. And just to add to that, and sorry to cut in there, just Luke, you're not there to be loved. You're there to, with a purpose, to get people to where they want to be. And sometimes that means that you've got to give them a pinch of salt. That means you've sometimes got to give them something that doesn't really taste nice in that respect. It's not all about a fluffy, you know, everything's positive. You know, the stark realities of it is, do you sometimes have to have that position where you're like, wake up, client, otherwise you're throwing money down a pit, which you're not going to get anything that back in return. I mean, this is the kind of shake-up that the industry does tend to have. I'm not just talking about speaking industry. I'm talking about personal development as a whole, because whilst you are looking at disrupting the way that the speaker industry is represented, you're also shaping part of the personal development industry as well, with what you're doing here. And I have this big chip on my shoulder about the ethics in this arena. The fact that, you know, I don't have a problem with loads and loads of personal development people there, and life coaches and speaker coaches and mentors and anything, you know. Warren Ryan said it quite rightly at one point, where he said there's enough cake for everyone, so why are you going for crumbs in that respect? But my point being is, you must have some ethical code and responsibility to what you're doing, because people are putting their lives in your hands to a certain extent. and you can't just be casual enough to say, oh well, that didn't work, you can go and find someone else. It's kind of, you've got to have this responsibility. And I kind of want to push out the work that goes behind closed doors, the bit of the iceberg that not people normally don't see. You're a man of energy, right? You talk about energy and stuff like this, positive, negative, all of these kind of transitions and stuff like that. How much time, energy and effort does it take for you to be able to switch off from one client to switch on to another client? That you could have, in one day you can have one of your best performing clients to those that you need to invest a lot of time into. And what does that take in terms of its toll in you as a person, and the turnaround that you've got to make? Because some people say, oh, people are well overcharged, or why should we pay for mentoring, or why should we pay this service, or why should Luke Scott have a premium service and then a mid service and then an entry level service? I think people need to really understand it's the energy that it takes to transform yourself, in your mind, in the way you've got to work with these people at each level to make sure that they're surpassing their expectations. What's your view on that?
Yeah, anybody who is mentored by me personally, they have to go through an interview process. That's the only way you will get on my mentorship program. Is if firstly, we'll talk about, they have to know, like, and trust me, right? I have to know, like, and trust you, because it is draining when someone asks to be mentored by you. And here's the thing as well, speakers, if you are coaching people for free, they're not going to do the stuff that you tell them. They have to have skin in the game. So as well, if you want me to invest in you, you have to invest too. If you want my time, you have to make an investment, because that's the only way you tell if people are serious. And yeah, so firstly, they have to go through my interview process. Now, obviously, if they just want my online course, they don't have to do that, because then they're going to by the time they get to the end of the online course, they'll decide if they want my next level of program.
Yeah.
If they've gone through that whole program and they've done the stuff, then I know they're the kind of person that would want to work with me anyway. But they still have to go through the interview. Yeah. That's just how it works, because my energy is my most important asset. But I'll slightly challenge what you said a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when I work with my best performing clients, yes, that's amazing. But when I work with my clients who struggle too, that's really amazing too. Because
absolutely.
If everyone was just really successful straight away, there was no challenges, I wouldn't learn.
Yeah.
And I believe every time I teach someone something, I'm learning on a deeper level too. So
this is that's very important. And what I mean by the fact that it's the energy shift that you need to have when you're working with someone who's flying high and everything's clicking, you have a euphoric energy within you because you feel great. But when you have a client that's struggling, it's a different type of energy. It's not that you don't care. You've got to you immerse yourself even deeper, because you've got to. It's almost as if you've got to turn their energy around. You've got to move their mindset over. So it's kind of the person it's clicking and working. I'm not saying it's any easier. It's just that what you do is you coast a little bit easy, more relaxed in terms of how you're approaching things, but you still got to be over cautious to avoid the complacency in things. But what I'm trying to get to, and this is really to the audience out there, whether you're a coach, you're a professional yourself, or you're someone that's actually looking at people like Luke as a service provider and saying, why are they so expensive? It's understanding the trials and tribulations that one of us professionals need to go through on a daily basis.
I'll just, the way I say it, right, is I take the word expensive out of my vocabulary.
Yeah,
it's about value.
Yes.
Look, if you as a speaker want to really make a business and you invest £50,000 in your business, but you know that you can make a six-figure speaking business, it's a great investment, right? Tony Robbins, for his 1-year mentorship, charges $1 million, right? If you can pay $50,000 to work with him, amazing, right? You're gonna learn how to do that. With me, what I teach people, they can make their investment back in the first couple of weeks. They can, because I've done it. Literally, I had a call with someone last week, already made more than they invested now. That's it. It's because they see the value. It's not, whether it's 10K, 2K, 50K, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If I've got a house that's worth £100,000, okay, and I offer it to you for £80,000, it's a great investment, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to make £20,000.
Yeah.
The amount of money doesn't matter. It's the value of what you're getting, right? So as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, you have to be confident that your product adds value. And I know 100% anyone who comes on my 3-month speaker training program, the value is there. The value is massive.
And that's where I'm trying to drive to. That's what I'm trying to drive to, because it's the thing. You see, we get a lot of procrastination that happens in the environment. Now, I understand that there is a point where you obviously you filter through who's right in terms for each of the levels. So you're interviewing even at your highest pedigree products and premium products, because you're making sure that A, it's right for you, and B, they're going to be able to get the maximum value and return. You believe in your product, but they also need to have that interview process gives you that kind of filtering process to say you are ready for this and we can make this happen in the time spans that we're discussing here. I think it's a situation of, you get so many people coming into a market space today with so many collaborative offers. You get this whole free thing that goes in, and everyone gets pushed into this, well, I can get this from the corner for free. I have this whole, you said it yourself, very much so, those that actually are speaker coaches that coach for free, guys won't do it because they've got no skin in the game. So what is it that is it that you say to people to, apart from that whole invest in yourself and I can invest in you, what is it that you're saying that's turning people around and saying, no, I must invest in myself and I can take this forward? Because obviously you're getting the clients and you're turning them around in a short period of time, and they're getting their return on investments, like you say, within weeks. So what is it that you're saying to them that that's making this difference?
I think one of the things I teach a lot is, have you heard of Pareto's law, the 80-20 principle?
Yeah.
So 80% of what you do only gets you 20% of the results, all right? And so I flip that, though. It's something not a lot of people do. So 20% of what you do gets you 80% of your results. So if you just focus on doing that 20%, you're still going to get pretty much the same result. If you do more of that 20%, with half the effort, you can get twice the results. So that's one of the things I teach people is, if you come on my program, yes, there's an initial investment. No, it's not massive. Anybody can afford it if they're an entrepreneur. Any entrepreneur who comes to me that can't afford the investment for my 3-month program, I know they're not serious, because it's an investment. What business can you start with an investment of just a few £1,000s? There isn't one, And so anyone who comes to me that can't get the money, I know they're not right for the program anyway. Now, when I first started out, I didn't have the money. My first ever event I went to, I had to ask a colleague, not even a friend. My friends and family didn't have any money. From a very poor family, my mum was on benefits, raised me and my brother by herself. None of my friends' family had any money. So I literally asked a colleague to pay for my first program.
Yeah.
But I pitched to him, it was an investment, okay? So I told him if he paid for it, then I would give him this, and this. And now we're best friends, we traveled the world together. It created an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
So there's always creative ways to find money for stuff. It's not an excuse. But people who can't find that initial investment, I know they're not ready yet. So it's actually a great filter too. It kind of gives people a push. At one of my events, I said a very similar thing. I said, look, if you can't even afford this amount, you're never going to be a successful entrepreneur. I said, if you are seriously telling me right now you cannot find this investment, you're never going to be successful in business, you might as well not bother.
Do you think it's a part of that where they're not hungry enough? Because I've used the metaphor in the past where I said, imagine now I've got a loved one of your loved one next to me basically, and I've got a gun to their head, and I said, if you can't get 50,000 by tomorrow, I'm going to shoot them in the head basically. What would you do? And people say they'll beg, borrow, steal, they'll go turn to crime, they'll do anything it takes. So I kind of then ask the question, why wouldn't you do that in your business? So I suppose what you're getting to in this situation is, how entrepreneurial can you be to raise it, even if you don't have it? Look what you did. You went out of your comfort zone completely. You went to someone who's a colleague. It's not even someone who's kind of emotionally or physically connected to you in that respect, and said, I need help. And this is the other side of the industry, which I also want to raise. And we've got a couple of minutes left before we kind of finish up. Can't believe an hour's almost gone. What's this whole thing about? What's your viewpoint on the fact that people struggle to ask for help as well? So, we're talking about the fact that people need to hustle and really show that they are hungry for this. But I also find it that people find it struggle to ask for help. Do you have that kind of experience as well?
Yes, I was that person. I'm very good at giving, but not very good at receiving. But one of the things I've come to learn is that life is all about flow. You know, what comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out. When you're giving, you have to receive. When you're giving, you have to learn to receive, even if it's uncomfortable. Now, it's a big lesson that I've had to go through quite recently, is asking people for stuff. If someone offers me something, I'm usually quite happy to take it. But to actually go out and physically ask for someone for something, like make yourself vulnerable again, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
People are scared of rejection.
Yeah.
That's a lesson my soul had to go through. That's a lesson I think a lot of people have to learn, because life's not about being independent. That's not the lesson here. You know, we're all one. There's enough for everyone. There's abundance. Yeah. But the only way the universe can bring things to you is if you ask. So when you're asking another person, you're actually asking the universe, God, whatever you want to call that thing that's greater than us. And so, yeah, it's something I think everybody has to learn at some point, is to ask for help. And the more you fight that, I think you'll just get resistance in your life. That's what I certainly see with a lot of my clients. But when you just let go, surrender, ask for help, then amazing things happen.
And it's amazing how your perception changes as well, because I'm a believer, a true believer, of the way you see something models your behavior. Your behavior dictates your attitude, and your attitude influences your action. So the way you take action is based on the way you see something. And it's not like, you're bowing down in the sense when you're asking for help. You're actually showing that you're human, and at the same time, I personally think that you're growing, because you recognize within yourself you need the help. It's much harder to ask for help and accept it, like you said. The whole receiving thing, whether it be pride or whether it be the makeup of what you've got and the value that you have in that, than it is to actually just cower away and say, I shouldn't ask for this because I don't want to be seen to be weak, or I don't want to be seen to be needy. Whereas actually you're not seen as either of those. You're actually seen as human. I think it's amazing how you've built that. Look, we're fast approaching 7 o'clock. There's loads of Lavelda's just killed this timeline. Absolutely, thank you for that. So before we sort of go into how people can connect with you and stuff like that, whether I'm someone who's already started in business, I'm thinking about speaking, or I'm considering actually getting into this speaking engagement, business, or becoming whether it's an enrolled speaker or a paid speaker just for the keynotes. What 5 top tips would you give to anyone that's listening?
5 top tips. Okay. Wow. Okay. Put me on the spot.
3.
That's cool. First tip. Okay. You have to be visible. If people don't know what you do, how can they possibly ask for your services? Amazing. So first thing, you need to tell people what you do. Stop being shy. But the issue is people don't want to get rejected. So first thing, become visible. Yeah. Second thing is selling is serving. If you have a product or service that genuinely adds value to people, it is your duty to sell it to them. Look, seriously, if you tell me you have a problem, and I can solve it, but I go, oh no, I don't want to give him the solution, doesn't make any sense, right? So when you have something that you know will help people, you have to sell it to them.
Amazing.
I'd say the next thing is just follow your intuition. If something feels right, it's probably right. If something feels wrong, it's probably wrong. I live by that. It's something that, but to get there, you have to quiet your mind. So the fourth thing is all around BS, right? Stop letting your BS control you. And BS stands for belief systems, okay? All those negative programs that you were given as a kid, just shut them out, right? Shut them out. They don't serve you. I always just say, does this serve me? And the answer is usually no. So I stop it. And the last thing I would say is you just need to trust. You need to trust that everything happens for a reason. The things you've been through in your life, you've been through them. Even the worst things, you've been through them for a reason, so you can help other people who may be going through that now, or they've crafted you into a person where now you're ready. And when the time's right, when you feel it here, go for it. And if you want to be a speaker, if that's what you're saying and the time is right, then get in touch with me 100%. And I'd love to work with you. And 5 things off the spot. Not bad, eh?
No, it's amazing, and that actually, and this is exactly it. I mean, visibility, selling is one of the biggest things there. I love the fact, I love that one about, the BS thing, whether it's a belief system or it's to do with the bullshit. I
didn't know if you could swear on your show.
You can. It's the League of Disruptors. You can do whatever you want, basically. but essentially, I love it. And the whole thing about the trust in your and the intuition thing. I think the whole part of the intuition thing is that if you don't feel it's right, then unfortunately you're bringing that energy that it won't ever be right, and the perception will never be right. So, do you know what? There were 5 amazingly intrinsically valuable points that you've just given there, so thank you for sharing those. But you also mentioned about, if people want to come on board and sort of join you on your journeys or on your programs, how can people connect with you? So, apart from the socials, we've got Luke Scott on Facebook. Do you have a YouTube channel? How can people apply for your programs or anything like that?
Yeah, I use Facebook for basically everything. So, add me on Facebook or drop me a message on Facebook. But if you want to go to my website, it's lukescottofficial.com. So lukescottofficial.com. There's a form on there you can fill in if you want to work with me. But really, add me on Facebook. The issue I've got with Facebook, it only lets you have 5,000 friends. So, very quickly, those filled up. So I actually have a profile called Luke Scott 2, but it's II. So add me on there if you are interested. But yeah, just drop me a message, and yeah, would love to work with you. So basically, I'm looking for people to work with over 3 months, because the problem is with courses, you go to a 3-day course or a 4-day course, you get all this information, and it's overloaded, and no one ever does it. But with a 3-month coaching program, every week we give you stuff to do, and then at the end of the 3 months, I can guarantee that I can make anybody an international speaker, as long as they work. Because I know how to make an international speaker very, very quickly, if you work. So it is an actual guarantee. If you're not an international speaker in 3 months and you work, I'll give you your money back.
You can't argue with that, ladies and gentlemen. You can't argue with that. So Luke Scott Official, we're going to get all the links and all the posts and everything up onto this live feed later on today. Luke, I really am. It's a privilege to have you on the show. Thank you very much for spending, an hour of your time with us and sharing your wisdoms. I think Luljeta Guyoka is saying, "Hey Luke, you're amazing and spot on. Thank you for all your sharing all your wisdom." That's what it's all about. I really admire what you're doing. I can see where you're working from, and the whole part of this transforming the attitude and the access of the programming and stuff on the how. The fact that people don't have to wait to spend all their life savings to get this is brilliant. The fact that you've got programs which are succinct and within a short period of time with guarantees means that, at the end of the day, what can your customer possibly get wrong apart from lack of effort? So, at the end of the day, I'm really pleased to see the rise of where you're going. I know you've got untold things. I'm looking forward to seeing the next range of events that you've got coming up. I know at one point we're going to share the stage. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I know it's a certainty at some point in time. Yeah. And if there's anything else that we can do for you here at League of Disruptors, just please let us know. But other than that, Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you very much for your time.
Great stuff, thank you.
No problems. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Luke Scott. So what have we got? That's it for today. Tomorrow we have Andrea Pennington, and we have the Michael Server coming on for the League of Disruptors show. This week is an intense week. So we've done the inspiring, to now we're moving to conspiring for tomorrow. So make sure you tune in, 11 o'clock tomorrow for Andrea and 2 o'clock for Michael. My name's Ketan Makwana. This is the League of Disruptors show, and I'll see you guys soon.